Coming up, from commercial and residential construction to jobs, income, and industry, local business experts discuss the outlook for economic and workforce development in our area. And tourism is on the rise in our region. Find out how Prince George's Community College can prepare you for an exciting career in the hospitality industry. Next on Around Prince George's.
Welcome to this edition of Around Prince George's. I'm Charlene Dukes, president of Prince George's Community College. According to Forbes magazine, the Washington metropolitan area is one of the 20 fastest growing regions in the nation. And Prince George's County is in a prime position to capitalize on this trend.
All around the Beltway, from Woodmore Town Center to National Harbor, there are positive signs of economic growth in Prince George's County. Retail and new home construction can be seen throughout the area, and several of the county's largest economic development projects have the potential to create thousands of jobs. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the county's population has increased over the past 2 years. The median household income is higher than the state of Maryland, and the unemployment rate is consistently lower than the national average. As local officials work to attract, retain, and expand business growth in our county, Prince George's Community College provides workforce development and continuing education programs to respond to employer needs and industry trends.
Joining me today to discuss economic and workforce development in our county are two experts in business and local government. Jim Estep, president of the Prince George's County Business Roundtable and a former chair of the County Council, and David Harrington, president of the Prince George's County of Chamber, who was also a county council member and former chairperson of the council. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Good. You know, I wanted to have you on because we know that economic development is really a growing concern in the county, and it has all of the potential to take Prince George's County to a new level. So before we get started though, Jim, why don't you talk to us a little bit about the Business Roundtable and what your focus is?
Well, it's a great time for us because we're celebrating our 10th anniversary. Now, David, I know that's a very young infant organization compared to our chamber, which has been around for quite a while, but it's made up of largely CEOs that run some of the largest companies in this area. And if you look at why we were established, I actually had some of these CEOs approach me when I left office, and they were looking for a forum for chief executive officers where they could talk about public policy. The chamber does a great job, and other chambers do a great job of networking and providing a lot of services related to specific legislation. These folks wanted to do more long-term work, and our first project was really to go into the community and to talk to people in focus groups for almost 3 years to find out what kind of vision they perceive for this county by 2020, and then to see how we could work and establish relationships with government and other entities to actually implement that vision.
Thank you. And David, talk to us a little bit about the Prince George's Chamber of Commerce.
Well, as Jim noted, we've been around for well over 75 years, and the Chamber seeks to improve the quality of life in Prince George's County by facilitating a positive business climate. And we do that 3 ways. One, we influence policy, and so we're very engaged in policy at the state level and on the county level, and even in some cases on the national level. We connect businesses as a way of exposing them to promising practices that they can apply to advance their own business practices. And then we want them to be engaged in a way of creating partnerships and also being able to engage in the community. How do we then touch base with other nonprofits who are doing extraordinary community work? And so with that, then we're building an organization that really wants to be a part of building a positive climate in Prince George's.
And you know, I think it's really interesting that we have 2 gentlemen here who are leading 2 prominent organizations, and you also have a history and a focus in county government, having served on the county council and then having served as chair of the county council. So as we talk about Prince George's County, you are probably both in a great position to talk about what you see as the strengths of the county. And David, why don't we start with you?
Well, I think the county is in the best place in this environment. For example, we have the largest land assembly of anywhere in the region, so that makes it easier to develop. We have a strong then county government right now that's looking at really facilitating growth. And we have a strong workforce that is able and willing to work within Prince George's County. And we probably have one of the most educated workforces in the region. And so with that, the appetite is very, very strong to develop in Prince George's County and to create jobs in Prince George's County.
So, Jim, is there anything else that you would add to that? And if you believe that David has covered it all, what do you see as the economic outlook for the county?
I think the economic outlook for our county is great. I do believe that the stars are aligned. It's our time to be in the sun, if you will. If you look at the region, most of the areas are built out. We've had two historic problems: public safety and education. We've got a county executive and a county government now that's focusing, I think, more so than at any point in our history on making certain that those two particular areas are as strong as they can be. We've made significant strides in reducing crime, and I believe with the new governance of the school system that we're going to make great strides in improving education in the county. So we're in the best position probably that we've been in decades.
If I could join Jim in a second, I totally agree with that. And the other thing, if you look at economic drivers, one of them is transportation. Mm-hmm. And we have the most undeveloped transit stations in the region, which is a good thing because now that creates the opportunity for live near where you work workspaces. And that is a regional appetite, and I think that that's going to make us much more desirable than our regional competitors to develop in Prince George's County.
David is right. Transit-oriented development is where the future is. It
really is.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about what you know or what you see in terms of that transit-oriented development? I know that the phrase usually that's coined is TOD, mm-hmm. But what do you see happening around our transit stations here in Prince George's County that should give us hope?
Well, ours have been underutilized. I mean, if you look at Northern Virginia, they have taken each of those locations that they have, and we have more metro stops than anybody in the Washington region, and yet we have not really focused on economic development around those centers. And I think that's where the future is. I think that's where this administration is focusing.
So you really have an opportunity to create, urban downtown, commerce. And that's what we're lacking. And so what the underdeveloped stations that Jim has noted really provides us then with an opportunity for density and mixed use development. So we can have, again, some really high-end retail, some high-end residential property right next to where people can get to work. And that is a great formula for strong economic development.
So as we talk about that, we know that there are some major projects certainly currently in the plan for Prince George's County. Can you talk about what you see as those major developments? I know that—
Well, you mentioned Walton in your introduction. The Walton Company is just an exciting partner to be bringing into Prince George's County. Mm-hmm. That's a Calgary, Canada-based company with worldwide investments. Met recently with Bill Doherty, the CEO, and the plans that he has to develop in Prince George's County are phenomenal. They have almost 3,000 acres that they own in the county, the biggest piece being the Westphalia piece, which is close to 600 acres just north of the main runway at Andrews Air Force Base. And there's going to be a groundbreaking next month for what in essence will be a city next to that base and next to large transportation feeders. You've also got the presidential complex where more will be taking place in the way of development adjacent to it. I don't want to make any announcements before anyone else does, but a lot of exciting things are going to be happening with Walton.
And we know that as we think about National Harbor, we know that there are plans to build a world-class resort, and as part of that world-class resort, there'll be gaming, there'll be some premium outlet shopping and the like. So talk to us about what you think National Harbor brings to Prince George's County. David, you want to begin?
No, sure. I mean, it clearly elevates our tourism. I mean, there's no question about that. I mean, it makes it not only just a regional attraction, but a national attraction. I mean, think of it, and really in fairness to even MGM, 30% of their business model is gaming. The rest is high-end restaurants, the hotel, the other features that would be associated with that. You have Tanger coming to Prince George's County. So we're talking about a possibility of 3,000 to 4,000 jobs just created with those two opportunities right there alone. Connect that then with some reasonable transportation to happen there, and you've created now a major economic hub.
I was going to say, if you take the purple line and eventually see that extended to the Wilson Bridge, the opportunities are balanced. I think the rest of the region is getting a little frightened, by what's happening in Prince George's County.
No, they really are. And so when you talk about then the 3,000 to 4,000 jobs, then that's not even talking about the contracts that would be associated with it. Just think of it. I just visited MGM in Detroit. Landscaping contracts, cleaning contracts, business opportunities there. I mean, it's just staggering, and this is all going to happen in Prince George's County in a relatively a short time. I mean, we talk about Westphalia, we're breaking ground there, almost immediately. So you could be talking about within, Jim, what do you think, a 3 to 6 year period?
Oh, absolutely.
Where you're going to have major development.
Well, you know what we're going to do right now? We're going to take a short break, and we'll come back with more discussion on economic and workforce development in Prince George's County.
Prince George's Community College has prepared me to transfer to a 4-year university from its rigorous academics and the experiences I've had here on campus.
Enroll today at pgcc.edu. Prince George's Community College, transforming lives.
Prince George's Community College can help you formulate a career and a pathway to complete your degree.
Enroll today at pgcc.edu. Prince George's Community College, transforming lives.
So Jim and David, let's continue our discussion. We were talking about National Harbor, world-class resorts, and what the opportunities might be there as we look at jobs, not just economic development, but jobs. What does it mean for the residents of Prince George's County? And why don't we continue with you, David, because you were talking about all of the possibilities.
Well, one, we're talking about a possibility of 3,000 service jobs. So those, the desk staff, if you will, the restaurant staff or what have you. We're also talking about wealth creation. I think that's something we really got to hone in on. There's some major possibility for some of our small and medium-sized businesses to get contracts to do IT development, to do human resources. So there's a myriad of opportunities there. So that's what these jobs create. It's not just about bringing in service kind of jobs, but wealth creation jobs that keep people in Prince George's County. We have an awful statistic. About what, Jim? 70% of the county leaves the county.
About 60% are leaving every day.
Leaving every day. So that's why we're not getting the kind of restaurants, because restaurants rely more on their lunch crowd than on the dinner crowd. So they're going to follow the crowd of where people are working, and that's why. So we've got to turn that around.
And you ask about what it would mean for the citizens. If citizens are always clamoring for services.
Yes.
They want better schools, they want better roads, they want other amenities, parks and recreation. You've got to create a tax base, and you have to grow that tax base. As David knows, we've all labored, elected officials, under the TRIM mandate that restricts, very, very restrictive, not only TRIM but other tax measures that we have. It restricts our ability to raise revenue, particularly in difficult times. So by job creation, you grow the base, and you keep people at home. You don't have to spend an hour and a half commuting, sometimes both ways. And that just adds to our quality of life, it adds to our income, and makes for a better situation where parents can spend more time with kids in school.
And I was reading the Washington Post, or maybe it was the Business Times, and I believe that there was one headline that said Maryland is voted the worst state for business. And so what does that really mean, and how does that impact Prince George's County if we're talking economic development, but we're clearly part of a state where people don't think that there are opportunities here?
Well, I serve on the board of the Maryland Chamber of Commerce, and the Chamber also has a position there as well. And we are constantly concerned about the reputation that Maryland has of not being business friendly. Now, we are tops in many, many categories. And by any stretch of the imagination, this is a great place to live and work. But regulations, taxation, those kinds of things that people look at before they come into a jurisdiction and look at the bottom line from a profit perspective, Maryland doesn't seem to catch the eye of CEOs who want to bring some of the major projects here. But you know, we're working on that. Hopefully it will get better. And with the education system that we have and the top spot that we have in terms of education across the country, hopefully that will offset some of the negatives.
As we move from that, David, you started to talk about small businesses, and tell me, what is the Chamber doing to help small businesses in the county?
So as we see what I would call this 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 year window of major development happening in Prince George's County, then the key word, there's a C word that we're doing with small business, and that's called capacity. That we have to build capacity and readiness for them to be able to compete for what I think are going to be incredible contracts and opportunities emerging with these kinds of developments. And so we have workshops on capacity building, workshops on being able to respond to proposals, having, as Jim mentioned earlier, network opportunities, not just as a social, because we're getting away from sort of the social things, but really deepening our significance in a way where we interact, where we're providing them with promising practices that are working at that level. And so the Chamber does that on a weekly basis through our committee structure.
So, Jim, tell me, we couldn't be here at Prince George's Community College without talking about the role of the college, certainly
Absolutely.
in workforce development and training, and just being a real asset. So as we're talking about jobs and economic development and keeping residents to the extent that we can, transit-oriented development, do you believe there's a more significant role for the college to play? And if the answer is yes to that, in what areas? Jim, why don't we start with you?
Sure.
Well, I think the college is doing an incredible job, and I think more and more there's going to be a focus on community colleges. Both of my, all three of my children are graduates of community colleges before they went on to get their undergraduate degrees. And we know that in terms of workforce development, the role that you play here is absolutely incredible. We've talked about the development at National Harbor and MGM and possible world-class resort there. It's your institutes that are helping to prepare the workforce to be employed in those places. So, you know, I think they're just, they're incredible opportunities that the college has, and you're going to continue to grow. And I think the focus, particularly as we look at some of the technological jobs that need to be filled, where you may not need a person with a 4-year degree, maybe a 2-year degree will satisfy the technical work that they have to do. I think there's a revolutionary look at workforce development in this country with community colleges at the center.
You know, I just think that it's time, you know, community college and the time of community college is now. If you look at the staggering cost for tuition, even at state schools and especially at private schools, the community college then becomes the key venue through which that you enter the portal called higher education. And so that comes at many different levels. It comes at both from a intellectual capacity building level, from a workforce level. I was pleased when, you know, both of us won the county council when we were negotiating with National Harbor and things like that, that we talked with the developers and said, look, let's create then a community benefit through the community college that jump-started then the construction institute that you have here, the hospitality institute that you have here, that begins to funnel and begins to become a gateway through which then you get these jobs. So it's not just about applying for the jobs and then getting training, it's about coming to these opportunities with a readiness to then jump right into and succeed. And that's what the community college does very well.
And I know that certainly with our other 4-year college and university partners in the area, that we too have had the opportunity to meet with representatives from MGM and talked about what they see happening at National Harbor and ensuring that we're a key part of that. So what I really want to do now is to thank you, Jim, and thank you, David, for your perspective on the status and future of our local economy. We're going to take another break, and when we return, we'll bring you more information on the workforce development programs at Prince George's Community College.
Learn how to drive at Prince George's Community College. Our Transportation and Distribution Institute offers an MVA certified driver education course. The program features 30 hours of classroom instruction and 6 hours behind the wheel. Taught by MVA certified instructors, students train in specially equipped vehicles that are easy to maneuver. Plus, classes are offered during day and evening schedules. Prince George's Community College, transforming lives. For more information, call 301-322-0062.
Welcome back. We've talked a lot about the local economy. Now let's find out how Prince George's Community College prepares students for the workforce. Here with me today is Dr. Yvette Snowden, Dean of Workforce Development and Community Partnerships, Denise Ware, Program Director of the Hospitality and Tourism Institute, and Patricia Brooks, a Culinary Arts and Hospitality Management student. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Snowden, why don't we start out by you talking with us a little bit about our Workforce Development Institutes. What are they?
Okay, absolutely, Dr. Dukes. The Workforce Development Institutes are vehicles through which the college engages businesses in a partnership, so to speak, to help in developing and sustaining a qualified workforce for the county. Currently, there are 6 institutes. We have the Hospitality and Tourism Institute, Construction and Energy Development Institute, Transportation and Distribution, Public Safety and Security, and Human Services Institutes. We are serving a number of people through the institutes who are, come to the college to receive training in a specific or industry-focused occupation, skilled trade, and develop the skills necessary needed for them to compete in the workforce.
Thank you, thank you. Denise, the Hospitality and Tourism Institute. Can you talk to us about what some of the programs are in that institute that are available to our students?
Well, the students have an option of completing their AA degree in hospitality management and/or culinary arts, and we also offer a certificate in both programs. The great thing about the programs, they can also get their individual certifications to help them in the workforce.
And what are some of those certifications?
The certifications are your Serve Safe, your TIPS, which is your alcohol awareness, and also the START program, which is a skills, task, and results training that introduce them to the hospitality and hotel industry.
So what's the job outlook for hospitality and tourism, both in our county, in the state, and the region?
In the region, it's very promising. In the region nationally, we are in hospitality #2 and overall next to the government when it comes to employment. And also in the state, hospitality and tourism is growing at a magnitude rate. And also in the county with so many things that's happening and on an uprising, especially with the concentration on National Harbor.
And where are graduates being hired? Can you give us just a few locations where our graduates work today?
Yes, some of our graduates work for some of the top brands, Marriott, Hilton, Gaylord National Harbor, and not only some of the top restaurants in the region as well.
Thank you. And then I know that we have Ms. Brooks with us today. Can you talk to us a little bit about which program you're enrolled in and why did you choose that program?
Well, I first heard about the program through the High Step grant, and once I came, I signed up originally for culinary arts. I had a passion, but I wanted to obtain the knowledge how to do it on a commercial level. Then once I became a student here, I found there was so much here. The school offered so much. So I switched and said, okay, I can do both. I can do culinary arts and I can do hospitality management. And it seemed like it's so exciting being here. A lot of the professors, they worked in the industry, so they give you so much knowledge. And it's really, I can see now that, the sky's the limit. I am going to work for my degree in both, and then I will be transferring.
Great. So was this a career change for you?
Yes, it was.
All right. So
I did finance for 30 years.
And then decided that you wanted to be in this industry, and the college had both the programs,
yes,
the convenience and flexibility of where you could take those courses,
yes,
and then certainly being very affordable to you.
Yes.
So tell me, what are your plans after you graduate?
I plan to relocate and work in the industry.
Great, great. Do you have a particular place in mind?
Well, I would love to stay in the area like in the warmer months, but I would like to be somewhere like tropical.
All right. Okay. So you're going to take Prince George's Community College around the globe.
I sure am.
Good. Thank you. So I know that, Yvette, many of our programs lead to certifications and licensures. Can you talk about what some of those additional programs are? You know, we know we have a tremendous hospitality and tourism program, but you mentioned some of the other institutes a little earlier. So what are some of the licensures and certifications that students can receive by coming here to the college?
Yes, students can receive a wide variety of licensure and certification, and I'll talk a little bit about what they enable students to do. Often a license or certification will enable a student to enter the workforce quickly by showing that they have the skills needed to do a job where they may not have the experience. It also may provide a student with additional skills that enable them to grow on a job or in their ability to grow in their job, I should say, an incumbent worker. So some of the additional programs that we offer preparation for students to take exams in information technology and security is one of those. Public safety and security, students can go through the police academy and receive the qualifications or the preparation needed to secure a job in law enforcement.
Well,
So,
you know, at this point, what we're going to do is thank you, Dr. Snowden, Ms. Ware, and Ms. Brooks for being with us today and sharing information about the workforce development and continuing education programs as well as our community partnerships. As we close, here are some of the highlights from a Culinary Arts Career Day event for public high school students held here at Prince George's Community College. Thank you for watching.
Guys, the hat should be down on your forehead, okay? It's a great opportunity for the kids. You know, we have something very similar at Crossville. So our kids are exposed to this type of cooking. But for them to see it in a college setting, in a bigger setting, working with other chefs than just myself, I think it's an incredible opportunity for them. I've never seen them this excited in a long time.
You're using your math, using your science. Anytime you bake, you're gonna find that you're using chemistry.
Shrimp and lobster bisque, flank teriyaki steak served with mushroom gravy, vegetable medley made with broccoli, carrots, tomato, and zucchini, chicken pilaf wrapped with rice, sauteed shrimp and carrots, roast chicken and velouté sauce, and Italian potato salad.
The students are always excited about coming here to the college. Some of the teacher asked, how do we have control of the students? You have to be organized, you have to be creative. And as long as you're creative and keep the students' attention, you will always have control. And that's the reason why this is the first time they come in here to Prince George's Community College, and they're doing extremely well because there's a sense of direction, there's a sense of organization.